So what happened to the internet, people? Not the internet people, but what happened to the internet, comma, people? And what's going on out there? I mean, as far as what has happened to social media over the past few years, there's been a huge, huge paradigm shift that went all the way to one direction and then all the way back. And I'm going to define what I mean there. You know, I have never. I've been on YouTube, as I've said, for 10 years. I don't know why. It was something I found a great way to express myself. In that time, I have had Facebook. I had MySpace when I first started YouTube, I think. And then I abandoned Facebook several times, and because of the toxic nature. And this last time was the final time, as far as I'm concerned. But I've never signed up for Twitter or Instagram. I've never used them. And therefore, me sitting here talking shit about Instagram might fall on deaf ears. I'm not here to put Instagram down as a whole. The idea that you can share pictures is wonderful, and especially for artists. I know people who are painters or photographers who love sharing their art on Instagram. However, just like most social media sites, it has moved towards those who are profiting or advertising, and these paid promotional ads have taken center stage over actual content or people who just want to share their ideas. They have today what you call a curated feed. Now I want to briefly touch on an idea. When I was younger, I realized that styles started coming back in. In the early 90s, styles of the 60s, you know, kind of resurgence of this hippie movement, at least in my life, because I was into the Grateful Dead in the early 90s, and still am, of course, but that's when I discovered them. And I thought about how the styles of clothing was kind of a 60s, and they said then the 90s were the 60s standing on your head. Well, and I thought, I wonder if then in the 2000s, then the 70s will come back into style, and then the 2010s, the 80s will come back into style, and then the 2020s, the 90s might come back into style. And actually, it's followed a very similar pattern to this. At a certain point, my point is, if you wear your 70s shirt long enough, it'll come back into style, right? Well, with the internet, everything has changed. This happens overnight. So I wanted to talk about authenticity. When YouTube first started, it was authenticity. It was people uploading videos of weird shit that happened. And once in a while, something would happen to someone that would go viral, and it would be an internet sensation, and then this person may get their channel discovered, let's say, or and then they'll start to make other content or try to fulfill this. But if a person could get one viral video, you know, it could change their life, right? All of a sudden, brands started catching on to this. Now, the thing about brands and corporations and mainstream media and Hollywood is that they've always loved a greatly curated, you know, status. Their movies, everything about them has, you know, it's done quality. And then all of a sudden, these really grainy, shitty videos would take center stage, and people were more interested in people's authentic lives than some sort of a fake version of reality. So the brand started following suit. The brand saw that people had these posts that people liked, and so they would say, hey, post for our products. And this is how the term influencer came around a couple of years ago, and it's almost falling by the wayside now as people start to realize that every single picture they see on Instagram is the same damn picture. The same people standing in front of the same Leaning Tower of Pisa or Great Wall of China, or flocking out to these places to get a photo, just the right photo op. Then they take it back and they spend all day long editing this photo and completely changing it. And so many of these photos are doctored to the point where, you know, the person has to disclaim these aren't even real anymore. And I guess what triggered me to kind of make this was I was watching this show the other night called #Cats. It was on Netflix, and it was about these Instagrammers whose pets get famous. And the conclusion that I got from that was that in the beginning, a person might have an interesting dog or cat that would get recognized on the internet. And then this person could make a career out of their pet, right? It was just a little moment in their lives, their 15 minutes of fame. Now we have people who are going out to shelters and seeking out disabled or crippled cats or dogs in order to specifically to make an Instagram account. Now I know this is rare, and most people who do this would not admit it. But there are plenty of people out there who make a lot of money. All of the people who post their cats on Instagram, they can have huge followings and make massive amounts of money by putting a certain type of cat litter in the picture or whatnot. And that's fine. That's good for them. But then all of a sudden these companies catch on and they start making these fake accounts where they're supposedly these average people. But on top of that, you've got like I guess on the show they said it was the cats of Instagram, which is this guy and this girl that have, I don't know if they're a boyfriend, girlfriend or what, but they just take everybody else's photos from their cats and put them together in this one certain, however they do it on Instagram, this wall or whatnot, this curated feed, where they make, millions of dollars probably off of, other people's cats. And it's just a crazy world to live in where people are making money off of pets, animals, where animals have become this commodity, And the reason I'm saying this is because it's just one small angle of what's going on with social media. There are websites where you can go buy likes, where you can buy followers, subscribers. Sometimes when I've done research for these types of things, because I like to research deep on this kind of stuff, when I go to look for information about buying likes, the first thing I come up with is a website saying, do you want to buy likes or buy Instagram people, fans? It's become so fake. And this is why, and people will delete their posts if they're not liked. This is something that I guess up to 90% of teenagers know somebody, at least one person, who deletes their posts if they don't get enough likes. And it becomes this aggrandizement, this arrogance, and this idea that if everything isn't perfectly curated down to the last detail, then it's just not worthy of sharing. And that puts us in a fake world, right? Well, the reason I'm making this is because I read this article about how authenticity is like the new fad, if you will. And it's just so funny because over the years I've thought, do I have to cater and bullshit myself and make myself into a personality if I want to get my voice heard online? Because my channel, I'm happy with the amount of subscribers I have. But if I could reach millions of people and actually pay to have my channel, to keep it going to where I didn't feel like I had to be distracted with work. Hell, I could put a lot more time into editing, and I thought, then I could edit them really well and put all this time into it. But it just wouldn't be authentic, I like being authentic. There are companies, and when I read this, I was just like, it says there are accounts, people who have Instagram accounts, who hire what they call authenticity officers. Now get this. You're hiring somebody to make your posts seem more authentic. That is absolutely fucked up. I don't know what else to say about that. So the funny thing about this is that the brands always follow the people. They stood up there saying, we're going to do things our own way, and we're just going to be stubborn and keep posting ads. Then they realized if they want to get attention, they have to work through the people. And so they can pay influencers $1,000 to $15,000 per post. It's some serious money. And maybe I have a little envy there, sure. If there was a product I really stood by that I could sponsor, I probably would. But I've actually had at least a dozen people send me emails asking me if I would do a review and post their product. The last one I got was about a week ago, and they offered me $750 to talk about this particular gaming platform product or something. And I said, look, I don't know anything about gaming. And I know that there's a lot of people who would just say, I'll do it. It's like the guy that has a full head of hair and a beard and he's, sponsoring Dollar Shave Club or something. I get it. People have to make money. And I think that it's going to be interesting to watch how this unfolds in the future. How are creators going to get paid if they're not using ads? Well, we're trying things like Patreon. But it's hard for people to sign up for Patreon. You have to go in there and actually push a few buttons and enter your information, and then you might have to pay a monthly fee and don't know how it works. And, we as humans, we want simplicity. I get it. You want to be able to just click, quick donation if you want to, pay for something or whatnot. So a lot of creators are making products because of that, which is what I'm going to work on. I don't want to ask for money. I'd rather make products. So like I said, I'm going to make t-shirts and stuff like that. But then you want them to be high quality and you want them to be original. And the funny thing is, like I said before, you've got guys like Jake Paul who are selling like these dirt cheap, crappy t-shirts with horrible logos on them that they just stole off the internet, basically. I mean, this has been shown over and over, a lot of these guys, but especially Jake Paul, perfect example of a douchebag who makes millions of dollars, something he's worth like 50 million bucks, and then he takes clip art that other people have created off of the internet and utilizes that for his own shirts, then puts some stupid shitty signature over it and sells it for 50 bucks and says, be part of my crew. This is the tribalism that the internet has created, these tribalistic attitudes around certain channels, certain groups, certain people. It's interesting to watch all this unfold. It's really interesting when you see a person who puts on a face and then they try to be authentic. And it's very strange to watch. Some people are just so fucking fake. They're just so obviously full of shit that no matter how much they try to be authentic, they really can't. Now I'm going to be straight up honest with you. I'm quite cynical, and I crack some crude jokes, and I like to laugh a lot and say stupid things. But when I make my videos, I really try to make them coherent, and functional. But my sense of humor is pretty dry sometimes, and I like to have a good time. I understand that you have to curate a little bit in order to contact people and to speak to people. I can't just sit here on my couch and be like, yeah, man, and just talk like I would with, anybody else, because I want to get my point across, but not waste your time. But the thing is, in my generation, we were taught to just kind of be who we are. And I feel like I hoped that the next generations would move past that kind of bullshit, fake attitude. And it's coming back around. Being authentic is coming back around. So everybody puts on kind of a mask, and I get that. There's one thing that I'd also like to mention is that, a lot of folks think, well, if you have, let's say, a large following and you make some really dangerous claims, you can put people in danger. And this is what a lot of people do. They do stupid things. People will actually, I've had somebody tell me that I influence people and that young people probably might watch my channel and therefore I shouldn't talk about certain things or say certain things. And I actually agreed with him. I was like, okay, it's true. The more you have more responsibility with the more people that are listening to you. And I understand that. And that's why some of these YouTube channels and kids channels are just garbage. But back to Instagram real quick is, I read this article about people who were, of course, the Instagram. We've all heard about the poppy fields in California that were invaded by Instagram influencers. I read about this one place that was only visited by 800 people a year, and now there's over 30,000 people a year that visit it because some Instagram influencers posted themselves in front of it. There is and I'm not trying to diss on Instagram itself or people who use it. I'm talking to you people who are this little elite group of idiot douchebags who pack up your bags, fly to some other country, go on vacation, and your whole plan is to get up as early as possible, to get down to the square before anybody else is there, so you can get a picture without anybody else there. And then if they are there, you can just edit them out of the background by taking a secondary picture, right? Photoshop is amazing. And then you want to make sure that you're in a skimpy clothing, that you're sitting there maybe with your legs up, kind of crossed on the wall, smiling. You got to make sure that your ass is showing at least a little bit. And if you're not sitting there posing with a bottle of vitamin water or something, then you're just never going to make your money. So, maybe, this is a little cynical. I could go on and on. But there's a certain Instagram pattern. They would call it the algorithm favors certain types of photos. And so people will curate their photos just to fit that algorithm. Not because they're good photos. Not because they're really sharing anything. And I guess a lot of these areas are getting destroyed by ignorant idiots who don't take care of the environment. And the sad thing is a lot of these people, there were a few people who were called out. Because there's one guy who, I guess, I read this website, it's a channel called, I think it's an Instagram channel, it's called U.S. public lands hates you or something like that. And it's a kind of he calls out particular, Instagrammers who have shown these places that are, like done to stupid things. There were some people who got busted. They went off the path in Yellowstone. I think Canadians or something. They went off the path in Yellowstone and walked up to the pool, the geyser pool. Totally illegal. And then they showed another picture of riding through Death Valley on bicycles in an area they weren't supposed to be. And anything for a photo. They ended up getting a week in jail, actually, and fines of like $5,000 for, you can get charged for not having a permit on public lands if you're filming with a big group of people. And, they make it look like it's just one person taking a photo somewhere. And there's a bunch of people with all their gear set up, computers, it's all about, they make it seem like it's about the vacation, about the destination, or about, oh, hashtag love your lands, and then they party out and leave and make their, 50 grand or whatever. I don't like it, not because the people are making money. That's not the issue. And I know there would always be this kind of, people, rich people, or people who don't really respect, they think it's work. The funny thing is, some of these Instagrammers actually sued this guy, or trying to sue this guy who made the website, because they said, because of his website calling them out, they got called out by, either the government for, being on federal lands without permit, or more likely just getting harassed by other people who say, dude, quit fucking up, doing stupid things. Because some of them have spray painted on the rocks, done really ridiculous things that they shouldn't be doing, because the more extreme the photo is, the more likely you are to get attention. It's just like Jake Paul or Logan Paul, whatever, in the suicide forest in Japan, where he was filmed a dead body. Thought that would be okay to upload onto YouTube, and guess what? He kept his channel because he makes them enough money. And so, on a final note, YouTube has changed a lot. Social media has changed a lot. Authenticity really is coming back. It never went away, okay? Those of us who are truly authentic, it never went away. It's just ridiculous. Trends, memes, all of this. I'm not the grumpy old man shaking my fist. I'm just a dude saying, man, I know what's real, I know what's important, and I wish more people did as well. So, those are my thoughts on all that shit. And, I'm just going to stick to what I do. I've talked about how I might want to do something different with my channel, and, I'll do some edited videos for having a good time, but I'll never change who I am and what I do. And hopefully I can make a living off of just being myself. We'll see. But it does take work and effort. So I'm not saying that edited videos are an issue. I love a great edited video that's really done well. Just not one that's only intended to sell you some sort of bullshit product. Because you know what? Every one of us knows where to get food. We know where to get information. We know where to get phones, whatever we may need. We don't need people selling us shit that they might not even use themselves. And I've always hated it, that corporations have been able to get in the pockets of people. I'm not a sellout, damn it. I'll keep telling myself that, and I swear I'll never sell out. But I guess maybe there will be the right fit with the good product that I use. Good example would be if you have an outdoors channel and you're sponsored to use certain products, and you like the products, that's great. But like I said, if you're a guy with the long hair and a beard and you're sponsoring Dollar Shave Club, don't even waste my time. Let's just be real. The last thing I'd like to say was, as I mentioned, the reason why that guy with that website publicly shames these people is because it works. And I've really gone back and forth on this issue. The internet has opened up a whole new era of public shaming. And I mentioned this in the past, a couple of years ago. And somebody was opposed to the idea, one of my subscribers. We talked back and forth. And I vaguely recall, him opening my thoughts up to like, well, maybe public shaming isn't the best. Because I know it can make people more resistant or dig in their heels more. But the thing is, public shaming is not intended to change the person who has done wrong. Public shaming is intended to be a warning to everyone else not to be the same douchebag. And I'm not saying that I know what's best or not. I'm just saying that as a whole, I believe society is much more intelligent than any individual. So We're idiotic in a lot of ways, but we know what feels right and what doesn't. And when we see people lying to us and bullshitting us, we cry foul, you know. So thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you all later. Hit subscribe. Do it right now if you haven't already. Thing is, when I say that, it doesn't really matter because most of the people who watch my videos have already subscribed, because I don't do videos that are intended to grab whatever's popular at the moment. But you know, social media has really changed, and it's going to continue to change. How are we going to adjust with it? Peace.